what in the world? I am a terrible mom. My cognitive and executive functioning has never been so low. Motherhood is challenging, especially for the first time. And this really made me spiral. I just find myself saying the same thing to so many new moms. So let me just break it down very concretely and explain to you so that you don't self-sabotage yourself, which is I just really want to make and direct this video to the soon-to-be parents, or maybe even new parents, just things that I find myself continually, repeatedly telling my new parent friends, my new mom friends especially. And it's basically what I would tell, and I wish my pre-baby self knew. I heard a semblance of this advice, or is it advice? I don't know, just this phrase, this sentiment when I was pregnant, and I didn't understand it. And I'm like, I didn't press in because I didn't know how significant it would be. I just want to direct to those who feel like you're struggling, or it's so much and you're just frustrated at how hard everything is. You didn't expect it to be so hard, so much. The sleep deprivation, the constantly on as a parent. It's not a job you can just clock in, clock out. It's your entire life. Being a parent isn't just doing the motions of taking care of a child. It's there's emotion, and there's relationship, and there's mental and emotional and spiritual. It involves your entire life, and also flips your entire life, every aspect upside down, especially as a mom. I feel like dads compartmentalize it a little bit more, from what I've heard. I can't speak for every mom, but for most moms that I talk to and that I've heard from, and myself included, it's oh my gosh, my entire reality is different. I feel like I've transported to a new dimension, a new multiverse, because everything just is so different. I'm different. What is life? You just feel so disoriented, especially if you've come into all this without knowing how to manage your expectations realistically, because all you've seen about raising babies is from classes or social media, or the tip of the iceberg from what people describe generically or see in public. And it's oh, everyone's putting on their happy faces, and you just don't see the reality of things. So that's my mission on this channel, by the way. If you haven't been following, please do. Please subscribe. And I'm just really, really passionate about making these videos, even though it's so hard to find time to, because I really do want to help people know you're not alone if you feel this way, if you're struggling with this. Because I find overall a lot of moms have this pressure to look like they have it all together because everyone else on social media looks like they do, or people, all these moms doing stroller walks look like they're so fit and they have everything together. And life is messy. Motherhood is messy. Motherhood is challenging, especially for the first time. I think in any stage it's going to be hard. There's going to be different challenges in life no matter what your circumstances are. But what I hear from a lot of moms, this is not every mom, but the transition from 0 to 1 for many moms tends to be the hardest, because it just totally is an upside down, inside out reality change. So I just find myself saying the same thing to so many new moms. So let me just break it down very concretely and explain to you so that you don't self-sabotage yourself when you become a mom, or maybe you are a mom already and you are so self-sabotaging yourself, which is have a lot of grace for yourself, be kind to yourself. And what does that mean? We just hear that. When I heard this phrase, it's funny because I thought I knew what that meant. My husband and I have this program where we help overwhelmed women, especially in the workplace, deal with that and learn to have grace for themselves and operate in rhythms of grace. What does that mean? What does that feel like? How are we designed to live in a rhythm of grace in a very fast-paced rush world, very high-pressure world? So I thought I knew what that meant, but it's funny because it's so much more in motherhood. So for example, in the work example, right? It's I had a lot of weight I felt in a lot of my different phases of my career. I feel like what I learned after coming out of that and doing a lot of self-work, allowing God to reveal to me what was so dysfunctional about myself, really was so much of it was me imposing these unrealistic expectations over myself and being so harsh to myself, having these misaligned beliefs that are not true. For example, oh, I need to be productive all the time, otherwise I'm lazy. That is not true. I'm not a machine. But a lot of that is ingrained from our culture, our family, our upbringing, experiences that we have all these scripts. Another one is I am not worthy, or I I'm not significant if I don't do something of significance in the world. Because especially nowadays, it's like, oh, Forbes 30 under 30, and it's so highlighted to like you have to achieve really big things that everyone can see and everyone will applaud you for and get recognition for, especially on LinkedIn, or when you explain your job to someone, you want to impress them. And like, I grew up in the Bay Area, it's very like career oriented, so I just grew up in a very like achievement oriented society. That's just like the norm. You dissect all these lies and scripts in your mind, and then you realize like that's not true. And then reframing, rewiring your mind with new scripts and new beliefs, you realize, oh my gosh, there's so much freedom on the other side. I give that example because it's the same thing in motherhood, but I think what is hard about motherhood and doing that in motherhood is so many of us don't know what's unrealistic or not, or realistic. Like, what are the false beliefs versus the real beliefs that we should be telling ourselves and affirming ourselves in, because we just have so little exposure to other moms and their real challenges and their messiness. And again, I talk about this so much, but because so much of our modern day Western society, we've lost the village, we don't see that. And so we're just like putting, again, we just assume like, oh, we need to be, so on top of things and bounce back right away. And this really like made me spiral when I was a first, freshly postpartum, first time mom. I saw on Instagram, this mom had this like chart, this whiteboard of like, tummy time, baby sign language, and read a book. And it was like 10 or 15 things to do with their newborn every day. And I was like, what do I have to do all of that? That puts so much pressure on new moms nowadays, especially because of the internet. And the internet, right? It's like so powerful for good and for bad, because it's good for resources, education and stuff, but it exposes us to like too much information, and also makes us subconsciously compare ourselves and be like, oh, we need to be like that, or oh wow, look at that mom, got it all together, like I want to be like that too, how can I be like that? And you just like impose so much pressure on yourself, not realizing that those moms also have struggles. Those moms, before they had 5 kids, when they only had 1 kid, they were also like completely lost and struggling. When you're pregnant and expecting, you hear all this stuff and it's like, it's fluffy, it's theoretical, and you're like, okay, I kind of get it, and I think I get it, but let me actually just give you a picture just in case you run into this situation or similar situations, or other parents have run into similar situations. For example, the first week, like I had not heard or known that it's actually very common to undersupply in terms of breastfeeding. And the first week after giving birth, my milk was just not really coming in much, and I didn't even realize it because you can't see, you don't know. My baby was, she was latching, and she looked like she was drinking and sucking, and the nurses at the hospital, I kept asking them like, can you check, can you see if everything's normal? And everyone said it was fine, it looked normal. So I, unknowingly, until I think day 4, we had our first pediatrician appointment with bringing our newborn, and we were like, she is just not sleeping, crying all the time, we're losing our minds. But we also, me and my husband, we were like, oh, this is normal because everyone says babies cry. So people we told, that, oh, it's so hard and she just keeps crying and blah, blah, blah. Like, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, that's just how, unfortunately how babies are. So anyway, we like go into the pediatrician's office, and like immediately she's like, oh, from down the hall, I could already tell based on your baby's crying, because everybody could hear, that she is hungry. Like, she's not getting enough. She used the word starving, which, that was one of the things where when I told my doula, she was like really upset. She's like, your pediatrician should not have used fear tactics, like fear inducing words. But I literally went into a panic because I wasn't sleeping. My hormones were everywhere. I was like stressed. Like, I was so stressed. And actually, the more stressed you are, the less you can produce. I was just like, what in the world? Like, I am a terrible mom. Like, I felt so bad, even though I knew in my head, like, oh, well, I didn't know this. Like, I don't have to blame myself. But as a mom who wants to make sure my baby's fed, my baby's thriving, I was like, oh my gosh, she's hungry. Like, I can't let her starve. And I was just like spiraling. Giving myself grace in that moment meant really leaning into that, the part where I knew, like, how would I have known? Like, nobody had taught me. Everyone else said it was normal when they checked the latch and when they saw her feeding. If I were to talk to a friend, this is like a good tip for practicing and exercising self-compassion, grace for yourself, is how would you talk to a friend in that situation? I would say, oh my gosh, like, it's not your fault. Like, you didn't know. Like, you're trying your best. You love your kid. It's okay. But in that moment, you just, because you're a fresh mom, everything's new, and you're like, my baby going to be okay? Am I messing her up? Is she going to survive? Like literally all those things went in my head, like worst case scenario situations, right? And so those first few weeks, I felt like I was almost like borderline in a psychosis. Like I didn't know what was reality, like day versus night. I felt just like a zombie. And so I couldn't reason with myself that way, you know? And so that's why I'm making this video, because I want to help people who might feel crazy be like, it's okay, like your baby's going to be okay. And also don't hold yourself to impossible standards of needing to know every single thing when you are literally learning as you go. Another example is our baby would scream and cry. There was a phase, I can't remember, but for like 1 or 2 weeks, we noticed she would cry so hard every time she had a wet diaper, like even if it was just wet. And we thought it was just because she, you know, babies are uncomfortable with wet diapers and dirty diapers. Other people we talked to this about, and even I think her pediatrician, right? None of them brought up like anything else besides, oh yeah, some babies are just so more sensitive than others. And so we thought, oh wow, she's just like very high maintenance, you know. But lo and behold, I thank God I was like texting two mom friends, just ranting to them about whatever it was, and I was asking for like different tips about random things, and this subject of fungal infection just came up like out of nowhere. I didn't even like initiate it or anything. So I started looking into it. I was just curious, like, what is fungal? How do you tell if your baby has a fungal infection? And I was like, wait, I think she might have. And I checked, like I looked more closely down there, because usually, especially when you're a first-time parent, you're like still kind of not used to changing diapers. You're kind of grossed out by like getting too close. And also we learned the hard way that our newborn could literally like projectile poop. So I was like, I'm not putting my face down there just in case. Anyway, I looked more closely. I like leaned in to look closely. I was like, oh my gosh, she has like little red bumps in that area, and I don't think it's diaper rash, but it might be a fungal infection. So we talked to our pediatrician online, and then they also advised that we get this over-the-counter cream. We put a little bit on, and then sure enough, it like cleared up, and then she stopped crying every time she had a wet diaper. And I was like, what? Like she had a fungal infection this whole time, we never knew. And that was another example where I just like spiraled, and I felt so bad, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know, I'm so sorry. Like it's just these little things, right? And again, having grace for yourself is looking back and realizing you don't need to be so hard on yourself. It's going to be okay. Like, yes, your baby might have been uncomfortable for a week, but you didn't know the reason, and you didn't know what to do, and you were just trying your best. There's so many more situations I could give, but those are just like practical examples in case any moms, any expecting moms or new moms, you know, like you realize later on, or you make a mistake, or you don't know something, and then you realize, oh my gosh, what was I doing? I'm like ruining, quote unquote, ruining my child. Or you know, you love them, you want the best for them, and that's what matters. And let me just go back to this phrase of grace, because I know it's kind of ironic. My name is Grace. I'm honestly blown away as time goes on, as years pass. I just find myself gaining a deeper and deeper understanding of this word grace, and like the implications of what it means for life. Wow, there's like so much freedom and peace on the other side of really grasping grace, because I feel like, so again, it's like very theoretical. I've heard this word like literally my whole life because my name, but also at church and in Christian circles, and you kind of like understand on a theoretical level. But let me just say how it translates. The phrase grace, right? It is a gift from God. Like that's the meaning of my name. I think a lot of people tie God's grace with eternal life, and they're like, okay, cool. Like I said, I believe in Jesus, and now I'm, you know, going to heaven. That's cool. That's grace, right? Yes. And also way more in terms of like literally it is not needing to earn or work your way to be enough, to be approved of, to hit a standard. Like there's literally no measuring stick. When you accept Jesus, when you say, yes, I believe in you, Jesus, like I repent of my sins, I want you to be my Lord and Savior. The whole concept of grace is you are never going to, on your own strength and ability, be enough to meet the standard of receiving eternal life and salvation, of having forgiveness and God's blessings, God's provision. Like it's all grace. It's all a free gift that you yourself never earned and could never earn on your own. But because of Jesus being the bridge, you know, he was the bridge between humanity and God, to bridge that. This is like turning into a gospel presentation. You literally can access everything that Jesus has access to in a spiritual sense. So let me translate that into motherhood. So grace is essentially, you have forgiveness, you have God's love, you have God's understanding, you have God's compassion. Like he understands what you're going through, and you don't need to feel bad like, oh, I need to, because I think a lot of the feeling badness comes from this subconscious, like I need to do something to like cancel that out to like make up for my, quote unquote sins as a mom, or mess ups or failures, the things that I did that knocked me down the pole. Now I need to do things to like climb back up again. And that's kind of the subconscious system that we operate in, because that's most of what the world teaches us. In school, if you get bad grades, you need to like do extra credit to make up for it. A lot of family systems that don't, really deeply understand this concept of grace. You have to perform to earn your parents' approval, and they only say they'll only praise you if you get like 100% on your test. It's very prevalent in Asian culture. And so anyway, I think so much of these ways of thinking, these ways of operating, we naturally, carry that into motherhood, and especially when you're a new mom, and there's like so much that you just don't know. You can't do well. You're learning. You're failing. You're fumbling. Everything is a mess if you don't like lean into how do I give grace for myself. It's really, really hard. And so, not saying you're going to learn immediately overnight. I think learning to receive and embrace grace is also a spiritual practice. It's a discipline and exercise that you just keep practicing over and over, and it gets easier with time. And I will say I've come a long way, because I remember still vividly in college, people would talk about this concept of grace and like, be kind to yourself and blah, blah. And it just felt very foreign to me, very, very foreign, because I thought, I didn't even know for so many years of my life, I didn't even know I was being harsh to myself, because it was just my normal mode of being. Every therapist I saw, every spiritual director, counselor, whatever, the theme kept coming up. Do you notice that you have this voice that is like, you hold yourself to a really high standard, like it's very harsh towards yourself and very critical, like where do you think that comes from? And I was like, oh, is it? I'll just add one more example that I just thought of, that I'm like, surely it must be more common than people think, which is, I remember personally, I had this looming question over myself, like, how does everybody else have it together? How does everybody else know what to do? How do all these other first-time parents, they look like they got it all together. They have systems, they have routines. You see all these routine videos online. You see moms out and about, like with babies, and they seem very self-assured. And let me just be the first to tell you, if you're feeling this way at all, that looks are deceiving. Appearances are deceiving. And so you see, again, everyone's highlights, the surfaces of everyone's lives. You can't see the behind the scenes, the doubts that they have, the questions they have. They're also figuring it out as they go. They're also making things up. Maybe they have a lot of help. Maybe they have baby experience. You just don't know. And so it's so hard, but try not to project these expectations based on your perception of how other people are doing, because that's what I did to myself, even though I didn't want to, but I couldn't help it, because I was just like, what are they doing that I'm missing? What am I doing wrong? You are literally brand new to a new reality. You and your whole family, you guys are all adjusting and figuring out this new reality now that you have a child. It makes such a big difference to everything. And so of course you don't have systems and routines and know what to do. It's like, it's all a mess, and it feels that way because your life just exploded and all these pieces are all over the place, and you can't just automatically expect yourself to know how to put all the pieces together back to where they were, because it's a new configuration now, and it's going to take time and a lot, again, of self-compassion and grace for yourself to get to know your new reality and your new self and your new marriage and your new routines and systems that will come with time. It just feels so chaotic. I remember feeling like my cognitive and executive functioning has never been so low, and it scared the heck out of me, because I was like, I'm a person who has stuff together, like people know me and see me. Like I just projected this like expectation on myself. I am the person who has it together, who is on top of things, who's prepared, who is certain of herself, and so when I didn't feel that way at all, when I was like, I can't even heat up a meal, I can't even cook a meal, it just scared me so much. And I was like, what's happening to me? And the first time I was able to cook again and like meal prep, I was like, oh wow, I think my brain is coming back. I feel so passionate about this, if you can't tell, because I talk to so many moms who, I think especially because, again, my background, the moms that I know in my circles are just, they tend to be like high achieving, did big things in their professional careers, and then can control a lot of aspects of your comfortable life and have a lot of flexibility and autonomy. And then just becoming a mom is like totally flips everything upside down. And you're just like shocked. It reveals to you so many things underneath, those scripts. Again, like, oh wow, who am I if nobody can see like all the things I'm doing for my baby? I've talked about this before. Like the invisibility of motherhood really humbles you and forces you to come face to face with like your self-worth. Like, do I not feel significant because other people can't see what I'm doing? Like I honestly, like things like that were coming up for me, like, oh wow, this really is a lot of behind the scenes work and a long-term game. It's an investment for the long term. The ROI I need to trust will pay off in the long run. But when you're a new mom and it's only been a few weeks or a few months and you're like, oh my gosh, like how am I gonna do this for however many years, it can feel like a lot. And so what I think a lot of new moms need to hear, and what I would tell my pre-baby self, is stop trying to impose this like grading system on yourself, because that it will literally drive you crazy. It will give yourself so much mom guilt, so much self-condemnation and shame and disappointment in yourself, and that's just not healthy. Like, what determines a thriving family and thriving children, a huge part of that is a thriving mom who has a healthy relationship with herself. And so I think so many of us moms, when we come into motherhood for the first time, we don't even know that we've placed this unrealistic expectation, these impossible standards that are way too high. And so we're like, why do I feel crazy? Why do I not have everything together? Why is my house like so messy? And how do these moms, they can get like so many things done and all I want to do is couch rock? I'm like, I am so exhausted from the first wake window. While my baby naps, I'm just gonna let myself not do anything for her nap. And like some days I'll be more productive and like do cooking or cleaning or whatever. So much of it is about attuning to what you need to be the best version of yourself, to fill up your cup. Again, giving yourself grace, like knowing like I am not a bad mom if I'm not doing 10 things when my baby's napping, or if I'm not doing the 10 things on this like chart for newborns. Like, oh, it's just so ridiculous. I love this account on Instagram called Wilder Beginnings. She is like my spirit animal, I feel. She was say how has tummy time become like CrossFit for babies, like CrossFit for newborns? Like, why are we so stressed? We keep hearing about how important tummy time is and make sure you get X minutes of tummy time, and then you feel so terrible, like you're ruining your kid if you don't do enough tummy time. It's like all the generations before us didn't have this pressure and people turn out okay. So many moms are self-sabotaging, putting themselves in these mental traps, thinking like, oh, I need to get myself together. I need to, like, you can't even put words to it. You just feel like frustrated with yourself. And it's not just a job where you learn the skills. It's like your whole identity, your whole world, like how you function, how you think, how you behave. Now, for example, I'm always thinking about my baby, what she needs, even if she's napping, like what do I have to prepare later, and calculating her naps, and does she have enough sleep today? And like so much of your time and energy is dedicated to being in mom mode, and it's just totally different when you don't have a baby. You don't have so many things to be thinking about. And of course, it's also so like rewarding at the same time. Like, I have so much joy just seeing my baby in the morning, just smiling at me, and like, she's babbling now and making these noises. It's just it's mix of all opposing dynamic emotions. But what I was gonna say is, I think so many moms just don't give themselves, and this was me. This was why I was also, if you look at my past videos, I was so frustrated and confused and disoriented, and just I was also in a deep fog, like deep postpartum depression. And part of that was also just like not realizing until like processing this and reflecting on it, like, oh my gosh, I am beating myself up for no reason because I've been like painting this picture of motherhood that is not real based on what I see on social media or YouTube or other people like walking on the street, or whatever, or even just talking to moms. And I talked about this in a previous video where you'll ask people how people are doing, and in general, I mean, this is not just moms, this is people in general. Like, when you ask people how they're doing, most people say, oh, everything's good, or everything's fine, or yeah, we have struggles here and there, but they're not like real about how tough things can be, right? And so when you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm losing it, or I'm really struggling with something, and then everyone else is like, oh, everything's fine, it can feel very isolating. And so I just want to be that mom friend on here to tell you, it's okay if you feel like, oh my gosh, why do I not have things together? Because motherhood is like adjusting to a new reality. We see on Instagram, people gave birth and they're like holding their baby and like, oh, like I'm a mom now. And it's like, oh, great. Like, it looks like they just seamlessly transition. But I feel like the honest truth about becoming a mom that not enough people talk about, and I've talked about this term matrices, is talking about metamorphosis of yourself, and it's all encompassing, and it's actually more intense than adolescence. It's a lot. And so you can't just expect like snap of a finger you got it and you've got everything down. Like, that's just not going to be the case. But I think a lot of new moms, especially those who are used to like, give me the formula to ace the test, give me the playbook to succeed and have all my ducks in a row. The reality reality of motherhood and parenthood is it's chaotic, and that's going to be the reality. I think a big part of this is also just being patient with yourself. We want the 3 steps to doing, becoming this person, or we want the easy way to transform like a snap of the finger. But again, I think this is a journey, a slow and, I mean, frankly, painful journey, but the pain grows you. The pain is actually what helps you to build the muscle. Taking the workout example, it's like you don't just go to the gym once and then become super fit and healthy. Like, you need to be consistent, push through the resistance, try not to be discouraged when things feel hard, and beat yourself up. Like, it's actually good that you're facing these obstacles because it's making you stronger, it's challenging yourself, it's helping you develop new skills and new perspectives. And so I think, so many of us, just especially in this modern day world where so many things are handed to us, so many things are easy and convenient and catered to our ease, when we face something like becoming a parent and there's so many challenges and obstacles and unknowns, and we just feel so powerless relative to a lot of our lives before having a baby. It can feel very like unsettling how little you can control, how little you can actually do, and also how slow things feel, and how every wake window feels like forever, and you just want to like get it over with. That's how I felt personally when I had a screaming colic newborn who had a really bad reflux, and I was just losing it. And every wake window I was like, please, like, when is this over? That was just my personal experience. I've talked about it on my channel in depth. You need to be patient with your process, be patient with your growth and adjustment, and lean in to the tensions. Like, don't see the tensions and the resistance and the challenges as like an indication that you're not cut out for this, or you're a bad mom, or or you're doing things wrong. Like, the resistance is part of it, part of the journey. And this honestly is what life is supposed to be like. I feel like I've learned so much about life after becoming a mom. Like, of course, there are always things you can learn outside of motherhood, but it's like I literally get revelations all the time, like deeper, about how to live life, because it's like, oh wow, this is how you should treat resistance or challenges in life in general. Like, not running away from them, not being discouraged, not being like, oh, I guess it's not meant to be. Like, a lot of the times it's actually what's building me to get to the next level that's meant for me in the same direction, if I just keep going and persevere and not see the challenges as setbacks, but as preparation and training and equipping me, making me stronger so that I can handle what's ahead. That's so true for motherhood and parenthood in general. If you don't shift your mindset into having grace for yourself, you're going to be in misery and constant frustration and constant feeling like I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough. It's a stressful existence. I hope this encourages somebody who just feels like I'm not doing enough, I'm not good enough, or I'm not prepared, or whatever. Becoming a mom really humbles you, and it gives you the opportunity, I guess, to really choose, am I going to learn to have compassion for myself and be gentle with myself, so that my child will also pick up these habits to be gentle with themselves? Because if not, if I'm being a perfectionist, if I'm beating myself up, if I have a harsh self-critical voice, self-talk, your child will also pick those habits up. And so if you're not doing it for yourself, do it for your child, do it for your family, because it really is such, I think, this invisible disease in our world, where so many of us just like beat ourselves up, and then we don't realize, we think that we're trying to like be the best for our kid, and so we need to be better, we need to be more on top of things. But the truth is, to be the best version of yourself, you need to let go, and you need to be okay with your imperfections, and actually not just be okay, but embrace them and be like, yes, I celebrate myself with my imperfections, because I was never supposed to be someone who has all my ducks in a row, everything together. Like, that's not real life. I just want to be clear that these are not things that I knew right away. Like, these are just things I've learned and am continually learning myself. And so I'm just telling you what I tell myself to help myself adjust and thrive. Like and subscribe if you can relate. Let me know in the comments, because this is just the unhinged corner of the internet talking about motherhood in realistic terms. Pre-baby Grace would be looking at these like, oh my gosh, you are crazy. But this is real. See you guys next time.